I like too what in your video you showed a clip of Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones, and someone was talking about a famous fundamentalist who could make mincemeat out of liberals, something like that. And he
Yeah.
said, well, one can make mincemeat out of liberals and still have a soul that is in, not in the right place, something
Yeah.
like that. And I thought, wow, that's that's food for thought right there.
Yeah.
Like, even if you can make mincemeat out of people that are non-orthodox, that doesn't mean your heart is in the right place. And so looks like you're pulling Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones off the shelf
Yeah.
there. There you go. That's the
What
book.
Tim's referencing is this is the first volume of Ian Murray's biography of Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones. This is from Banner of Truth. It's amazing. You should read it. If you're wondering about like how to deal with like an ever-changing landscape of Christianity, look at Martyn Lloyd Jones, because he had to face a lot of things as a pretty conservative Methodist. He had a lot of different people, even within his tribe, that he disagreed with. And then, yes, like what you're referencing is that conversation with T.T. Shields, who was known as the Spurgeon of Canada. And he had this sit down, and T.T. Shields was basically going at everybody, just almost like a attack dog. Just everyone is a liberal, and I'm going to go at them. I'm going to bite real hard on everyone. And Martyn Lloyd Jones was trying to be like, hey man, get back to preaching the gospel. Like, you're so good at preaching the gospel. Just do that. Like, there's a reason why he has that reputation of being the Spurgeon of Canada, because he was such a great preacher of the gospel. But the problem with him is the same problem that could happen to a lot of us when we start to focus on these secondary things and make them primary. We just start looking for people to attack. And to say, well, they're not a Christian because they add on this part that I don't like. And so, yeah, I also like the part when Martyn Lloyd Jones, because T.T. Shields was like having an argument with him, and he was just like, well, what about this? What about this? And like one of his examples was like, if you're a surgeon and someone has cancer, you got to get that cancer out. And Martyn Lloyd Jones said, well, yeah, I'm a doctor and I get it. But if there's cancer, you need to go and talk to another physician too. You don't do it right off the bat.
Yeah.
You talk with other people, figure out how deep this problem is, and then do something about it. So I really appreciated that. Yeah.
Yeah. He brought out the fact that surgeons can get in a mindset of being too quick to want to just solve all the problems with surgery.
Knife
I think
happy.
that, knife happy. That happens in theological circles. We get knife happy if we're not careful. I think, again, to add to this conversation, some of what I'm thinking here, making sure our heart's in the right place. But one other thing I do think is something we should also just keep in mind, not so much with fundamentalism. I think the spirit of that movement got so hypercritical that, is something that was not healthy. Although I've known, some really wonderful people that would still be in that camp.
Same here.
So, we're not writing everybody off, but I think that there are different personalities, and that's something that I do want to keep in check for myself, because I am a very conciliatory person by nature. I'm more of a peacemaker, in terms of I want there to be peace.
Sure.
I don't want some people like conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I've said it like about someone like Martin Luther, and I'm sure there's other people we could put in this. Even if they didn't always do things perfectly, God still, I believe, used them.
Yeah.
And I think that happens, and that might be something we have to kind of accept for this season of evangelicalism. I do like the caution you're giving, because I think we could get knife happy theologically, but I also want to allow for those personalities that they are more likely to just take a stand. And Here's the thing, looking back at fundamentalism, the early fundamentalists, they actually were right. Like they were right essentially to say, yeah, we've got to be orthodox, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, and we'll get into maybe social justice in a little bit here. I'd like to hear your take on something with that. But, you know, I get why people are sounding the alarm with that. Because it's like you said, we don't drift to the right theologically. When we drift slowly but surely, we drift to the left. And you can see how the social justice stuff has potentially pulled people into some dangerous direction from a theological, biblical standpoint. Not we're, you know, we may have differences of opinions as Christians as to how we interact socially. By the way, on that point, I think a lot of the difference between fundamentalism and evangelicalism is your posture to the world. And so people by default, if they are in fundamentalism, tend to be quick to say, we are standing against culture. Sure. I read it from John MacArthur, I think recently, where he said, Satan is the God of this world. Mm-hmm. So we got to be standing against that. Right. Yeah. Whereas evangelicalism would tend to have the posture, well, not everything in this world is evil, and God, you know, gives common grace, and there are good things, and we can actually work with people to varying degrees who don't agree with us. Even as Christians, we can work with people in the world. We don't have to be against them at every point. Yeah. And there's a continuum there, right? But I do think that by nature, people who are fundamentalist kind of have that tendency, tend to be like quicker to say we need to fight. And then evangelicals tend to be, no, we need to work with people. Mm-hmm. And that's just a difference in posture that I've noticed in evangelical circles. And some lean this way and some lean this way.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And like you said earlier, there's dangers with both, you know, like if you're willing to work with people, you can easily work with them too much and go too far with them. Right. Give them too much credit. But then also, you know, like I would probably fall more in that evangelical landscape of being able to work with people and look at culture and say there are things that we could use. Now, not that we should use them over the Bible, but there are things that we could use to help us as we understand how to bring the gospel to the world. But yeah, there's dangers on both sides for sure.